Imagine asking another country to bomb your own homeland. It sounds impossible. Throughout history, people have defended their nations even under terrible governments. Patriotism usually overrides everything: fear, anger, even oppression. So why do some people do the opposite? Why would citizens, including many Iranians in recent years, openly call for foreign military pressure or intervention against their own ruling system? Is it betrayal, desperation, or something deeper in human psychology? Today, we're not talking politics. We're talking about what happens to the human mind when hope inside a system disappears. 1. The normal psychology of national loyalty. Normally, humans are wired to protect their group. Psychologists call this social identity theory. We define ourselves through belonging, family, tribe, culture, nation. Even people who dislike their government usually separate country from leaders. That's why during wars, citizens often unite behind the nation regardless of political disagreements. External threats strengthen identity. The brain switches into us versus them mode. So under normal conditions, asking outsiders to attack your country feels psychologically wrong, almost like harming part of yourself. Which makes this situation different, because something has to fundamentally change in how people define us. 2. When the government stops feeling like us. One of the strongest psychological shifts happens when citizens stop identifying the state as representing them. Instead of seeing the government as their protector, they begin to experience it as an external force. In psychology, this is called identity separation. The mental boundary moves. People no longer think, "This government is flawed, but ours." They begin thinking, "This system exists against us." When that shift happens, loyalty transfers, not away from the country itself, but away from the ruling structure. Home becomes the people, culture, and future, not the political system controlling it. So psychologically, foreign pressure can start to feel less like an attack on the nation and more like help against an occupying force. 3. Learned helplessness and closed systems. Another key factor is something called learned helplessness. When individuals repeatedly try to change their situation, protests, voting attempts, reforms, social movements, and nothing works, the brain learns a painful lesson. Internal action changes nothing. Over time, motivation collapses. People stop believing change can come from within. Psychologists see this in abusive environments, prisons, and long-term authoritarian systems. When internal paths feel permanently blocked, the mind searches for external agents of change, not because people desire destruction, but because they perceive no remaining internal mechanism for improvement. Hope doesn't disappear. It relocates. 4. Risk perception under chronic stress. Here's another paradox. People living in stable societies fear war intensely because war represents uncertainty and loss. But people already living under chronic instability may evaluate risk differently. If daily life already includes economic collapse, repression, or fear, then the psychological calculation changes. The brain compares futures, continued suffering that feels guaranteed, versus dangerous change that at least contains possibility. In psychology, this is called risk acceptance under loss conditions. When individuals feel they have little left to lose, they become more willing to support high-risk outcomes. Not because war seems safe, but because stagnation feels unbearable. 5. Moral reframing and collective hope. There's also a powerful process called moral reframing. People reinterpret painful actions through hopeful narratives. Instead of viewing foreign intervention as harm, some frame it psychologically as liberation, rescue, or acceleration of inevitable change. Importantly, this doesn't mean everyone agrees. Societies under pressure become psychologically divided. Some prioritize stability, others prioritize transformation. Both reactions come from the same human instinct, the desire for safety and dignity, just expressed through different beliefs about how to achieve it. So the real question isn't, why would people want their country attacked? The deeper question is, What level of hopelessness makes outside force feel like the only remaining option? When identity separates from authority, when internal change feels impossible, and when risk becomes normalized, human psychology adapts. History shows that people rarely abandon their homeland, but sometimes they redefine what saving it means. And understanding that psychology doesn't require agreement, only empathy for how humans think under extreme conditions. Because the human mind doesn't just seek survival, it seeks the possibility of a better future.